That is a really beautiful question, because it's a beautiful concept to bring up. A couple of years ago, I think it's a couple of years ago now, Lakshmi would know, but it's not important. I had a very challenging year. So many things happened to me in the course of a year. I mean, major and very painful, never mind extraordinarily expensive dental things, several of them, rupturing a disc in my back, stepping on a stingray that turned into several small surgeries, and it was very painful. I mean, it all led into rupturing an Achilles tendon. It was a lot, actually. I was in pain for, I think it was more than a year. And I kept saying to myself, what if this lasts forever? What if this pain, because everything seemed like it could leave quickly. A ruptured disc can most often be dealt with. The stingray was eventually, we were going to get every last stinger out. You know, the dental work was accomplished. The Achilles tendon I'm still dealing with, but it's not like it was. And there were more things. Again, it doesn't matter. I can't remember. It was amazing. I mean, Lakshmi said to me at one point, wow, you are really going through a lot of body karma. And I was. I mean, I just was. And they weren't small things. It wasn't cancer, but they weren't small. And I was in a lot of pain. Many times I would say, and I don't think most people knew because I would show up and give service or teach a class, but I would say often that pain was like 7 or 8 out of 10 in these scales. So it had me, and it was preventing me from sleeping, and exercising was a challenge. And I kept saying to myself and asking, what if this is the rest of my life? And I knew it could have been. And I faced that question that's being asked, not in reality, so that's another whole thing, because even though now I have some pain, it's nothing like what that probably year and a half was. Nothing like that. So it's eased up, and it's a different scenario now. But I started practicing. This is true. I spent a lot of time saying, okay, this is the rest of your life. And there were several things that came to me that felt meaningful. Number one, attitude was of the utmost importance, right attitude. And I will say, and you've all heard me say, that if we read Swamiji's notes that he took, his discipleship notes when he was with Master, and Master would give these master classes for the closest in disciples. That's what he called them. One time he called them, I don't remember, but it's written, everybody can find it, super duper, hyper important, those are his words. I would never use those words. I'd be too embarrassed, but he can get away with it. He said, you can't speak about anything on the spiritual path until you develop right attitude, or at least move in that direction. Now, he has a lot of those, like loyalty is the most important thing on the spiritual path. But they're all, I've come to see through teaching these secrets classes, they're all coming at it from a different angle. So to say loyalty is the most important thing, like Swamiji, we can see he was loyal every moment of his life to his guru. Such an example for us. And you could see how many times he could have been pulled off of the path, or made bad decisions, or felt too beaten down, anything that I could think of, if he didn't have that loyalty. So that's one thing. But this thing about right attitude, and then after I read that, I found it the way you do when something's in your mind in the Raja Yoga lessons on spiritual anatomy. Right at the beginning, Swamiji says, and I say this is important because that Raja Yoga book, it's like a Bible for us. You cannot take that class, read that book too many times. I'm saying it to everybody because we are about to offer a hybrid version of Raja Yoga. So wherever you are, you could tune in. Those of us who have taught it, I don't know how many times I've taught it, a lot. Every time I learn something. Everybody says that, and it's the truth because as we grow spiritually, those lessons look very different. So if you're here and you can do it, come, monitor it. It is so worth it. And if you're open to it, if you will receive it, you will learn, no matter who we are, any of us, learn more taking that Raja Yoga class. So when I say something's even in the Raja Yoga book, to me that means a lot. Swamiji says you would never have thought to step onto the path, and he's beginning to talk to us about what it means to release Kundalini. I'm going to get back. This is all related to the question, by the way. I haven't gotten lost, even if it seems like I did. I didn't. He says, you wouldn't think to go there. Your ego wouldn't even allow it at all. That's why we've lived 10 million lives before now, when we're really seeking, if you didn't have right attitude. Now, when Yogananda talks about it in his lessons, he defines all of what he means by right attitude. But let's sum it up and say right attitude is anything and everything that will take you in the direction of God realization. Anything and everything. It's choosing to remember to smile during the day, to be kind to others, consistently be kind to others. I mean, I could just go on and on. And then right attitude goes deeper and deeper and deeper as we, as spiritual beings, go deeper. So I really, because I've now had to study that a lot and sit with it to be able to teach it in all these different classes, because it comes up just like it is now, how important right attitude is. The minute we go in these circumstances to any negative thought, why me? Why is this happening? Or poor me? Or I'll never get out of this. Any of those machinations of the mind, and they're infinite, just like in the Gita, those qualities, they didn't just number 100. We start there, but we learn. They're infinite. These qualities that can take us away from God. So definitely work at, and this is hard. This is very hard, whatever the painful situation is. I forget how the question was worded. Was it a physical thing, or we don't know? We're not sure. So whatever it is, living with a partner is difficult, or a partner who's not trying to be difficult but has bipolar disease, or, I mean, just so many ways that life can challenge us over time. And again, I can't begin to think of, say all of the ways. It doesn't matter. It will take us down unless we do just what we've been talking about, remembering in as many moments of the day that you can, that you are a perfect child of God, that God loves you just like that as his perfect child. And he's always right there. He's your best friend. He's your lover. He's the energy and the source of the solution of every problem, always. So the more that you can remember, that we can remember, this is so touching how much we're loved. Look at what just happened, that we just had to share this story, or I didn't probably have to, but I did, of St. Anthony. St. Anthony lived in the desert alone for at least 35 years. I'm not sure if it was up to 45. The more people would come to gather around him or be near him, because he was a saint, he would go out further. He lived in a desert alone, constantly being tempted, taunted, tortured by what he was calling Satan. It was his ego. It was his desires, his needs, his negative thoughts. He was a human being who was committed to becoming a saint, committed to it, as we all should be, every one of us. But at one point when he was particularly torn by some image that was presented to him, something that was really trying to pull him, can you imagine how easy it would be to say, I'm going to go into town tonight and have a great cappuccino or a glass of wine. You're out in the desert for all those years. Oh my God, so many things you could be tempted by. Honestly, he was a human being. And he fought and fought. He describes it as a physical fight with the devil. And then he was free. And then he said to God, where were you all of these years? Why weren't you here for me? I wanted you, and I was struggling. And Master says, you have to hear Master say it when he tells this story. Anthony, I was always with you. I was always the same. I was right here. And the implication in the statement was, you didn't look for me hard enough. You just weren't looking hard enough. It is so beautiful to feel how much God loves us, and that is the only real way, other than everything else we've talked about all morning, to get through that. I'll just share one beautiful story for those of you who are watching The Chosen. Such a magnificent presentation of Christ and the Jewish people and his life. And we haven't gotten to his death yet. I'm not even sure if I want to watch anymore because it would be so hard to watch this crucifixion. But anyway, the actor who's played Jesus for season 1 through 4 is leaving. He won't play Jesus anymore. He said it's become very, very difficult for him. It's brought up so many changes in his life. And he talks about a lot of it, how it's painful for him wherever he goes. People, masses come to him. They want to touch his feet. And he can't bear that. And he said, but the biggest change is this. I have lived in that consciousness. That's what I've had to do to play this part. And he said, even with my partner, who's not on a spiritual path, he said, I always felt, it's fine. She doesn't believe it. I do. I can live with that. He said, but I can't. And he said these words. I watched this interview with him. He said, all my life I was religious and I was spiritual, but I never thought about becoming a saint. I never thought about it. He said, now I want to become a saint. Isn't that beautiful? When I let that in, that is all the difference in the world of just living a spiritual life or making that commitment to finding God in this life. And problems that come to us that are long-term, that on this material plane we cannot leave. They are like gold for us on this path if we rise to that challenge. There's no other way out. That's the gift. There's no other way out. You either find God or you are stuck. And I have not attained sainthood, and I haven't met these challenges in every way. But with my partner, I did. I won. And I came to that realization. I'm not leaving him, and he's not changing. I have to change. I have to see God in him all the time. And the moments when I slip, boy, it's a slippery slope. But boy, does it help me get right back up there and open my heart and love God who's being offered to me just so that I can become perfect right then in his image with him. That's what's being offered.